All right. It is the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our first IAAP member networking session. So before we get started, I just wanted to go over a couple housekeeping items. We do have closed captioning available. You can select the closed captioning icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There's also a stream text link posted if you prefer to view your captions that way. And at the moment, during our presentation portion, all microphones are muted just to prevent any distractions or background noise. But once we go into our breakout sessions, you'll be able to unmute your microphone and turn your camera on if you like. We'll be monitoring the chat for any dialogue or technical issues. And as we get along, get through the program today, we'll have time for Q&A at the end, and we encourage you to put questions into the Q&A session. So since this is our first one, if you bear with us today, we're very excited to have you all here and have our special guest. I wanted to just give you an outline so you know what to expect during the program today. So this is kind of our welcome and introduction, and I'm going to open up the program to our presenters, our special guest today, and we'll have like a 25-minute little topic discussion, and then we're going to send everybody into a different breakout group, and there'll be a monitor in each group where we're going to have a discussion topic, and you'll have some time to discuss amongst yourselves. We'll come back and do a quick recap and then have time for Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and get started. Change my screen there. And so I want to kick off and turn the program over to Emily Wolodkowicz, and she's going to introduce our program and our speaker today. Thank you for joining us, Emily and Kate.
I got muted. Hey, there we go. Thank you so much, Rachel. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Rachel, Malcolm, IAAP for having us. My name is Emily. I am the Senior Training Specialist here at Onward Search. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. And Kate, just let me know if you can see my screen.
It looks great. Thank you, Emily.
Awesome. Of course. Okay, so today we are talking to the fabulous Kate O'Connor on digital accessibility advocacy. Kate will be sharing insights into different approaches for gaining executive support within organizations for digital accessibility initiatives. Kate, can you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thank you, Rachel, the IAAP, and everyone in this community. So I'm Kate O'Connor again, and I have been with Onward Search for 13 years. I actually have a hands-on background in UI, UX design, and I am the Vice President and Practice Leader for our Digital Accessibility program here at Onward. We've been around, so Onward Search has been around for almost 20 years. We're a staffing and solutions firm, and we spent a lot of our time helping build UX, UI design practices. And in that, we started to get requests for support within digital accessibility. So we upskilled our internal team, and we have an IAAP certified and CPAC certified dedicated team focused on not just helping build and mature digital accessibility programs, and of course, helping place amazing digital accessibility professionals, but also we now offer audits, remediation, consulting, solutions, and more. So again, thank you. So happy to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. Very excited to learn from you today. Any fun facts that you'd like to share with everyone?
I have lived in Massachusetts my entire life. I live outside Boston, and I am the mom to two little girls, 5 and 7. So
awesome, Kate. Thanks again for taking the time to discuss digital accessibilities and ways to advocate for it. So before we dive in, I first want to ask, why is this conversation relevant to everyone on this call?
Yeah, so this is for everyone, regardless of where you're at in your digital accessibility maturity model, whether you're a team of 1, of 0, and trying to build your program, or if you've got a team of 10 or 100, it's so important to constantly advocate for the reason why are we all doing this? Why are we here today? In order to continue to grow and to mature and progress within your organization and to progress within, to help the community to continue to grow as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. So as we discuss how to advocate or secure leadership support for A11Y efforts, a common theme that we'll explore is the value of proper research and preparation. So how can advocates properly secure or properly prepare for success?
Yeah, so we're going to dive into 4 areas to research and maximize progress. We'll discuss why our work matters, which obviously many of you know that, but communicating that to executive leaders is really important. Are you ready with data, facts? I have so many clients asking me for help build the program, help us mature. And starting with facts is really important, and data. And then we'll dive into why you need allies. You cannot do this alone. You can't do this by yourself. You need to build a committee. And in the great words of Jeff Whistle, who I don't know if he's here today, but many of you know him, but he had mentioned weeks ago, and I was talking with him, secret sauce is having those allies, that community, that committee within your organization. And next we'll talk about the importance of knowing who you're talking to make allies and convince decision makers and leaders. You need to know, a little bit about them to understand where they sit in their organization, what matters to them to ensure, you're building your case. You need to first, research them and their goals and everything. And then finally, we'll explore the value of a strong action plan. In order to be successful, you need to have goals, you need to have a plan in place. So I'll share, some tidbits and information and tips and tricks that I found successful with clients that we're working with and have worked with. And, in the community, what has worked. Of course, every single company and organization is different. So it's important to keep that in mind, that what worked for one person in one company may not work for you and your group. But again, research data and having that committee of allies is super important. And then finally, we'll review lessons learned, success stories, failures, so that hopefully you can use that in your practice as you mature, grow, or if you're starting from scratch, from the ground up.
Awesome. Great. So the first step is we need to start talking about digital accessibility. So Kate, how do you communicate the importance of digital accessibility for clients and stakeholders?
Yeah, so of course, I mentioned this already, but data is really important. Leading with facts. A lot of the facts that are on this slide today, you probably know. If not, all of them are probably familiar to a lot of you, but keep in mind that they likely aren't familiar to your leaders within your organization. But it's also important just to continually go back to data and facts and share this information, because again, advocacy is not just a one-time thing. It's not just important at the beginning. It's important throughout the entire process every single day. It's important to keep these in mind and to share this information. So these are just a few facts and data points that I like to share and come up frequently. Of course, 96%, that's the largest one there, but 96% of websites are not accessible to people with disabilities. That number is huge. I talk to different companies every single day, and mostly are Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, and they have a team of 1 or 0. So there's a lot of work for all of us. There's a lot of work to be done to get where we need to be to ensure that everybody has a great experience and can access the data that they need, the digital products that they need to have a great life and experience. So again, these are a few data points you can use. So we get data from a lot of our clients that we work with, but we also are always looking into data that's out there. Obviously, the W3C, of course, the IAAP has great data, click away pound, level access DQ. And of course, Onward Search, we did recently produce and release a free digital accessibility advocacy guide. I'll share that link later today, but it has some of this data and a lot of the information I talk about today. But again, there's more data every single day. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Kate, using this data, what are some cases that you can make to advocate for digital accessibility successfully?
Yep. So as I mentioned, it's important to have data always, right? And depending on who you're talking to in your organization, whether it's legal, compliance, HR, the CTO or the head of product, whoever you're talking with, it's important to understand where they're coming from, what's important to them. But there's different cases to be made. So of course, we all know that the moral case, it's the right thing to do, right? It should be the digital products, the websites, mobile apps, they should be accessible for everybody. It is the right thing to do, but again, a lot of your leaders may not understand the facts and the data, that 96% is currently not accessible out there, that 1 in 4 US adults, over 61 million Americans live with a disability. And 3.5 billion people are expected to need one or more assistive technologies by 2050. It's a huge number. And then there's the business case. So digital accessibility can increase brand loyalty, market reach, and revenue growth. But also I wanted to mention that I'm seeing more. So I get a lot of requests from our clients to provide data. I mentioned that, right? But a lot of them say, well, okay, it's easy if you're B2C. If you're a B2C company, it's easier to make the case. What about if we're B2B? Well, I'm seeing, and I don't know, some of you might be experiencing this yourself, but I'm seeing with a lot of companies I'm talking with that B2B companies are now hearing from their clients that they want to work with a company that's digitally accessible, and that they might not renew their contract if they are not where they should be, if they're not AA or at least AA compliant. So it's definitely becoming more than it's not just about B2C, but B2B. And of course, again, it's about making experiences accessible for everybody. And I wanted to mention 82% of consumers say that they would spend and be more likely to return to a company that embraces digital accessibility. And then remediating digital accessibility issues, and this is a number that is shared often, but it can cost up to 10 times more than considering. So if it's at the end of the process, if you're testing at the end, then if it's baked into every aspect of the software development life cycle, it can cost at least 10 times more. Product case, again, it's all about having, digital accessibility measures elevate digital experiences for everybody, right? Not just with those with disabilities. So I mentioned we had on the last slide, that ROI number, which is huge. It's 9,900%. That's the ROI for user experience invested. And that's for every $1 invested in UX, you can yield $100 in return. Again, it's about elevating your experience for everyone, ensuring that your digital products are usable for all. And then there's the legal case, of course. So the legal case, we all know there's lawsuits out there, over 300% more digital accessibility lawsuits and legislation cases were documented in the last 10 years. And over 50 web accessibility lawsuits are filed every week in the United States. It's a huge number. And then a very well-known, there's a lot of cases that we've probably all are familiar with. One of them, it's a little bit older, but major lawsuit with Target. They lost $6 million due to noncompliance. Again, like, I don't love to focus on the legal case, but it's important to have some of this data, especially if you're talking to your legal team. This is where this case obviously resonates with legal and often compliance. So.
Wow. Those are huge numbers, and all the more reason to begin the accessibility journey. Kate, what would you say is the importance of forming alliances with leaders across departments? So this is from legal to product and beyond, and how do you go about it?
Yeah, so this is, I think, one of the most important places that you can start, or if you don't have this already, to start now, is to build a community or a committee, a digital accessibility steering committee, to ensure you have members across, and ideally they're leadership members, but leaders within the entire organization, regardless of where they sit. So it's important to have HR involved. It's important to have leaders in legal, D&I, compliance, IT, technology, marketing, communications, product across the entire organization. There should be members that are part of your committee, because we can't do this alone. And to mature your digital accessibility practice further, obviously, you need to have members within all areas of your enterprise. So again, I mentioned this earlier, but this is what Jeff Whistle calls the secret sauce. Ensuring that you have this committee and that everybody's represented in your organization. There can be challenges, like, how do I create this community? Where do I start? A lot of companies that we've worked with have sent out a survey. Maybe it comes from HR, but a survey asking, do you want to be part of a committee? You might be surprised at how many people are interested. A lot of companies have little pockets of like grassroots digital accessibility programs that you may not have been aware of. So unifying and coming together as one, so important. Engaging people in that and ensuring that you're meeting regularly is really important. So trying to meet monthly. I know everyone's busy, but if you're recognizing, accomplishments within that committee, if you're providing content that's relevant to different organizations within the group, a product, whether it's technology, marketing, HR, having relevant content that they can then share back to their departments and teams that will help increase awareness, just educate, it will help. And again, I mean, it's also, we just can't do this alone. If you have a committee, you're more likely to succeed and to build a sustainable digital accessibility practice. It's a lot of work, it's hard work, and we need to do it together. You can't just be a team of one.
So once we've identified where our allies sit and begin forming those alliances across different departments, we need to start thinking about tailoring our messaging. So what should we consider when we are tailoring our message to different audiences, so prospective allies and decision makers alike?
Yeah, so of course, again, we talked about there's different cases, right? Different leaders within different organizations, they care about different things. So tailoring it to what's important to that leader, based on their initiatives, their goals, is really important. Understanding, obviously, again, the legal team has, the legal case makes sense for them. Business and product might be most relevant to your marketing leaders or digital product or head of technology. But knowing who you're talking to in advance is important, and tailoring, the data that aligns with them and their goals will help. And then, of course, just sharing, basic communication styles, like what works with them, their preferred style, whether they prefer PowerPoint presentations or a discussion. Choose the style that works for that particular person, that leader. And then just be ready with questions, objections, misconceptions. Again, don't assume just because we have the data, we know, don't assume that whoever you're speaking with knows the data or even knows really what digital accessibility means. Use plain language. I tell this, I remind myself all the time, and writing emails and communicating with leaders, but keeping it simple, direct, concise, so important, and really good for everyday communication also.
I like that. Keep it simple. So my next question is, how do you prepare to turn a decision maker or decision maker support into operational success?
Yes, and of course, this like makes it look really simple and easy, but we all know it's not. And it often is multiple presentations, multiple conversations. So something I just want to mention, make sure you're celebrating small wins. It's so important. And obviously, number one is be ready with next steps. So before you go into conversation, make sure you have, your number one goal set ahead of time before you walk into that meeting, that conversation, and set goals that are achievable, that are small. You can't ask for, hey, can I have our 8,000 websites remediated this year? That's not likely. That would be amazing, but not likely to happen. So start small and look for, maybe it's the most trafficked, pages, the top 5, ask for or an audit or something bite-sized, something small, because you're more likely to receive it if you ask for too much, or if you ask for something complex, it's not likely to happen. So again, this comes back to researching what's possible, what's reasonable, what might work with, with a budget of whatever, a small budget you have for the year, or, plan for next year and break it down. So aim for progress, not perfection. We all know this phrase, or we likely have heard this before, but progress, not perfection. And again, it's celebrating what progress we are making and knowing that, often it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But just remember, why are we doing this? Why are we here? It's so important. So
Yes, absolutely. So I'm curious, in doing all of that, and what are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned while advocating for digital accessibility efforts?
yeah, so hopefully I've shared some helpful tips so far, but just a few kind of takeaways where I've had success, or companies, clients I'm working with have had successes, ensuring that you tie your digital accessibility goals back to the company's mission statement, back to company values, back to whatever leader you're talking to, their top initiatives, goals, tying it to that. It's really important it helps, just when it's tied to their own goals, it just helps, make a clearer picture for them why it matters when you're tying it back to what matters to them. keeping the conversation positive. It's so simple, but it's easy when there's, when we talk about lawsuits and the legal case, it can become a negative conversation, and we don't want that. We don't want to create negativity around this important work that we're doing. So, and obviously accessibility is for everyone. So have, stories to share. I've had a lot of clients and companies that I work with have users with disabilities demo their own products for their internal team or to leadership or to head of product. And that's so powerful to show, like, a blind user trying to navigate through a mobile application or web application that is not accessible. And it just, things like that will help show clarity and help build your case. And then, of course, don't forget that measurement is important. So being able to show progress and success and tie it back to data. Again, numbers and data and facts speak. It speaks to everyone, wherever, they are in the organization. Leaders understand data and numbers. So just being prepared to show something, and it doesn't have to be large. Again, we have to, measure, you have to start small. You can't remediate entirely every single, PDF in your organization, every document, every website or digital product. It can't all be done at once. So just creating small, showing progress in bite sizes will help.
Awesome. I think that's great advice. So my final question, out of everything that we've discussed, what are the key takeaways that you want everyone on this call to take with them?
Yeah. So, and I know we're at time about, but so real quick, key takeaways, again, facts, the data, make sure you have that ready. Understand who's an ally, who might be a detractor, and actually formalizing your allies into a committee. And again, leaders from the entire organization, legal, compliance, HR, tech, design, everyone, there should be, have a seat at the table on an accessibility committee or whatever you want to call it. But that's really important so that you're working together as a team. It will help, again, spread awareness, and it will help you mature faster, and it will help you get buy-in. And then having just a plan in place and having those goals in mind. And again, just make sure that you have realistic goals. You're starting small and not asking for the whole world at once. And then just be the best advocate that you can be, of course. We're all here, being part of IAAP and other amazing organizations, networking, it's all important. So that is everything that I have to share. But again, thank you so much, Rachel. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope there's some tidbits and data that's resonated with everyone today.
Right. This is Rachel. Thank you so much, Emily and Kate, for that. So now we're going to move into the breakout area of today's session. So just to make a note that you will be automatically put into a random breakout group, and each group has a moderator that will be posing a question to the group, and I'm going to share that question quick before we do that. We will be turning off the manual captioner, and then if you need captions in the breakout room, you can activate the captions again, the auto captions. So the question before we break out into the breakout group is, describe a challenge that you had in gaining support for digital accessibility efforts, or share an advocacy tip you found most valuable, something that worked in your real life experience. If you want to think about that for a second, our team is going to go ahead and break everybody into the breakout groups for about 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and have a few takeaways, and we'll have some time for Q&A, and then we'll share some information about how you can continue this dialogue and get more information. All right, so we'll see everybody in a breakout group and then back all together in this main room, and you will be able to unmute your mic and turn your camera on if you would, in the breakout rooms. All right, we'll see everybody back in a little bit. I think everybody hopefully made it back into the main room, and I hope you had a good session there. So what I think we're going to do now is just call on some of our moderators to just give a quick recap of some of the takeaways from your session, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So Sam from IAAP, you want to kick us off?
Sure.
Thanks, Sam.
Sure. So this is Sam Evans. I think everything's on. There we go. Our group, we talked a good bit about one of the concerns was without legal action, there was lack of enforcement, and some of the common questions about we don't have disabled people. Why do we have to worry? Why should I do it? Some concerns about an unfunded mandate, about plans to make changes and plans in place, but those budgets are for 3 to 5 years out, not starting on something in current time frame and not dedicating the right people or resources as one of the concerns. Other members of the group also talked about so much being focused on compliance driven rather than on design infusion, so that projects and programs are developed and designed to be accessible and inclusive. Some concerns about things being a short-term project, like there's a checklist to complete. So there was reinforcement talking about how in discussions about things like curb cut effects, higher ROI and attention for companies, and on the technical side of things, that some of those are all benefits to help make the case for accessibility. But what are the stages where those things get fixed? How do those things get built in into the resolution, or if it's on tickets, or are they, if they're being listed as a feature, they get built into the backlog, but it's later, something to do later, something after everything else is done. And I think one of our team members talked about the chasm. How do you help cross that chasm? And they commented that you wouldn't make spell check as a feature. It's part of the success criteria. So how do you get that buy-in early on? There were some concerns about talking about platform accessibility for training for organizations, mandatory training, when the training platforms aren't accessible for disabled people. But often the pushback is, well, we can't change that just for you because it's built for everyone, in the kind of a dichotomy and in the irony, and it's actually not built for everyone. So somebody asked about, how do we give some power and authority to people who are actually qualified to do the work. And then as we closed out, one of the interesting discussions and points was there's some tension points about when people use discussions like the curb cut effect, as if that's how it benefits everybody. How do we deal with the tension, or how do organizations deal with the tension that causes about that could be and has been perceived as reinforcing some ableism, because it takes away from the focus on disability inclusion and focuses on people who are not yet disabled. And somebody said that's a good indicator of governance maturity. And the last bit before we had to regroup was, how do people, sometimes there's a difference between how people believe personally and then how they are willing to work towards that and reinforce that and implement it in their professional life, in their work world. And that's about where we wrapped up before we ran out of time.
Well, thanks, Sam. And I'm sure many of you, this could also be an opportunity for some of you to meet some of the other IAAP staff. Many of you may know Sam as our certification director, but I think I'll go to next Mars, which some of you may or may not know, but he's our digital marketing coordinator. You might see him a lot on our social media. So thanks, Mars. What did your group have to say?
Hello all. So yeah, we focused more on the advocate tips, but for challenges, it was the same, like Sami already stated. There's comments like, why would we make a website accessible just for you? So like answers like this. There was also accessibility requests sent to the wrong department, and in general, a lot of backlash. Why is it important in general? I never heard about it. Why should it be important? So that were the challenges they faced. And then for the tips, I have quite a lot here. So creating allies and having mentors, very important. Then communication is key. Someone stated that if you approach someone new to the topic of accessibility, start at the beginning. Means explain what it is and why it is important. And then we had, also be prepared, like I said before, communication, to compromise and repitch all the time. Always re-explain and repitch. And then also explain that inclusivity is always benefits, does always benefits everyone, and make the importance clear. And then we had someone who said he's working a lot with both sides, and he's pitching in a way of three things. So he's mentioning the positive first, then the negative, and then the benefits. So obviously the positive will be it benefits everyone in the end. The negative is you will face lawsuits if you don't work on that. And the third thing would be it costs you less, like the benefits, it costs you less when you invest upfront. So when you from the very front, before your project starts, think about the costs and make it accessible from the very start of the project. Yeah, and that's about it. Then the time ran out, but luckily everyone could speak.
All right, thanks, Mars.
You're welcome.
Next, I'll go to Heather, who's a membership services coordinator on our membership team. Hi, Heather.
Hi, our group kind of talked about a couple of different challenges, one of which was trying to get a policy put in place and have an accessibility policy put in place, and having the company fearing that if you put it on your website that it's a guarantee, and trying to convince them putting it there doesn't mean it's a guarantee, it's a commitment. So that was one of the challenges. And then another one was just building the infrastructure takes time. It's a long process, and you need to redirect expectations along the way and understand the different expectations. But to understand, it's a process, and it does take time. Two of the tips that had come up in our group was one is trying to humanize the disability. So if you have people in your organization that have more unseen disabilities, have them tell their story. Look right in front of you for resources to be able to help others to understand. And then another one was to avoid having accessibility be directed only to one person, and just pigeonhole that one person as the only person who knows anything about accessibility, and kind of trying to spread it out so that it's not going to just one person. And that was what our group talked about.
All right, thanks, Heather. And then I'll go ahead. Emily, do you want to go next? Back to you.
Yes, absolutely. So our conversation was great. One of the stories was, there was initially strong support when it came to accessibility, but then there was a change in leadership, and that diminished just moving forward with accessibility efforts. But I think in summary, what we really spoke about is the importance of forming a small community of allies to drive the accessibility change by, making small actions or providing direct feedback to just one person, and recognizing achievements and saying, great job, you did this, will encourage people to adopt accessibility initiatives. And a common theme was, it took a while, but staying consistent is what you need to do. And we also spoke about we spoke about different resources that you can use to encourage positive changes in accessibility practices. And overall, it was a really positive conversation, and great to hear everyone speak.
All right, thanks, Emily. And then my group, lastly, it's very interesting that every group kind of touched on very different aspects, but some of the takeaways or tips we talked about was how critical support is in that leadership buy-in, and look for small wins, and then setting standards and what is realistically what you can achieve in a timeline. And then also, I think other group touched on this, is bring in end user experiences, bring in videos, bring in content. What does a screen reader see? How like they use this? And then we talked about data responses versus emotional responses. So there's some people that are always going to want to see the data and the numbers, the bottom line, but then also there's an emotional component to do that and doing the right thing. That was my quick summary of the group. So we are pretty much on schedule, which is great. So now we have time for, if you have questions for Kate or anything else that you want to add, we can open the floor to questions. You can leave them in the chat or I'm sorry, in the Q&A. Or if you wanted to ask your question aloud, you can raise your hand and you can unmute your mic. But there's a couple hands raised now. So I don't know if those were comments. Can ask Andy, if there was a comment that you wanted to ask out loud.
Yeah, it's more of a strategy thing, and I forgot to mention it in our breakout group. The
Okay.
company that I work for is an engineering firm with about 2,300 people. And as a business and systems analyst, I'm required to write requirements. And so I started writing accessibility requirements into jobs where they were not in the statement of work. And when a project manager would come to me and said, why did you do that? And I said, well, we're working for this state. And I went to the state's website, and the state's website cites all content must be compliant with WCAG 2.1. And so he went back to the customer looked at their own website and said, yeah, if it's a state rule, it's our rule too. And I've done that several times. And now finally it's becoming you better look in the SOW. And if it's not in there, expect to write the requirements. Kind of forces their hand.
Thank you for sharing that. I think Mohammed, your hand was raised. Did you have a question?
Yes, this is Muhammad Shabir for the record from Pakistan. A quick question for Kate. We are trying to work with the regulator of the banks, which is the State Bank of Pakistan here in the country. And we are trying to convince that they should adopt certain digital accessibility standards such as WCAG or any other standards to make the websites, mobile apps accessible for persons with disabilities. But the argument by the regulator is that we try to stay technology or standard neutral. So how do we sort of make it and turn it into a policy and make a policy where these requirements are met, websites are made accessible, but it also meets the regulators' requirements of remaining standard neutral?
That's a great question. I think there's probably a lot of ways you can go about doing that. So I feel like for this one, because it's complex, and I'm not familiar with what regulations Pakistan might have. But I think, again, like looking at data that matters to whoever, I think is a good place to start. But I'd love to chat offline and can help you kind of formulate a thoughtful approach to hopefully winning and getting advocacy buy-in for that. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
And
Yes, I would really appreciate any answer regarding that. Thank you.
All right, I think go to Simon.
Hey, Kate, thanks so much for your presentation today. Really appreciate it. Wondering if you can talk about how to use situational disabilities like glare of the sun just to help folks to understand that disability and accessibility are about all of us and sort of, equalize the playing field a little bit that way.
That's a great point. I'm trying to think of, I mean, yeah, there's things in every day that can impact. And I mean, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. Like glare.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I'm stuck on yeah, actually my mom was in an accident because of glare. So it makes me she's okay. But she actually was disabled. She had a spinal injury because of that
Yeah.
accident. So
Well, I will say, I've heard someone ask the clever question, do you want your website to work for someone browsing on their phone outside in the sun? Well, if you do, then you need to think about color contrast a little bit, you know, and other things. So
yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, I think there's a lot of data and there's a lot of stories you could share about situational, temporary situations like that. I mean, I haven't heard exactly that one before, but I'd love to chat after and we can, there's so many stories that, and I mentioned this, like sharing stories about having, personal experience or someone with disabilities or without disabilities that is unable to use a website or, walk through, their personal experience with a mobile app, a website. It helps just paint the picture of the reason why should we make this change. So yeah, happy to again chat further because I think there's a lot to think about there and it hasn't come up. I've never had that exact question before with all of my client conversations. Um yeah, again, happy to chat. I'm like reading the chat responses now.
It's, yeah, we're almost, I think we're just about to top of the hour. I know we had a couple other hands raised, so I wanted to make sure that everybody got the chance to see this. So, following this, we're going to post these links here in the chat and then we'll share these links with you. But if you would like to connect with Kate afterwards, we'll share her LinkedIn and her email. We also will share a copy of the Onward Search Digital Accessibility Advocacy Guide. So we'll have that link. And then most importantly, I wanted to just end with two, because it seems like there's a lot of good discussion. We're just picking it up here. And I know some questions didn't get answered, but we started a community in the member connections. So if you had a chance, if you've been in connections, there's a discussion board in there, there's different communities. So we started a May networking event community for this to continue these discussions. And then you can post your questions in there and then we'll follow up and answer those questions. So we'll hope that you'll continue this dialogue and continue to network and share resources. And if you log into Connections and go to the Communities tab and use the drop-down menu to select all communities, and you'll find the May networking event, you can ask to join and we'll get started there and we'll post the recording and the slides and all these links and the link to the guide as well. I want to thank you, Emily, so much, and Kate for being on today with us and being part of our first member virtual networking event. And we hope to keep seeing you and engaged in the community afterwards.
And thank you so much for having us, Rachel, and the IAAP and this whole community. So thank you, everyone. This has been really great. And yeah, I hope we can keep the conversation going in the IAAP community event. And please do, reach out. I'd love to have follow-up conversations. I know there's a lot going on in the chat. So let's keep the conversations going, support each other, and happy to share and help strategize, come up with ideas to advocate within your organization. As they mentioned, every single company is different. So had a lot of experiences working with different organizations, and it's not a one size fits all approach, but yeah, thank you. And again, Rachel will send out our Digital Accessibility Advocacy Guide link. And yeah, please reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn or email me, and enjoy the day. And happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day week, everyone, too.
Thank you again.